If you found a screenshot that could end your best friend's future, a real screenshot with his name and his words, would you send it? Not to a gossip chain. Not to his enemies, to the university that just accepted him with a full scholarship. That is the question I spent 3 days trying not to answer. I still don't know if I chose right. I know I chose. My name is Maya, and I have known Mark Reyes since the 5th grade when he shared his lunch with me because I had forgotten mine and was too proud to say so. That's the version of him I kept in my head like a laminated card, the one I pulled out whenever I doubted him. He was the kind of person people described without being asked. Teachers brought him up in speeches, parents compared their kids to him at dinner tables, and he was somehow not insufferable about it. That was the trick of him. He wore his achievement lightly. He made you feel like the room was bigger when he was in it. Kai transferred in junior year, quiet and deliberate in the way some people are when they've learned that first impressions cost something. He sat 2 rows behind me in AP English, and he always had a library book wedged into his folder like a secret he was barely hiding. He wasn't shy. He was selective. He'd laugh at exactly the right moment, say one sharp thing, and then go quiet again. I liked him immediately. I introduced him to Mark at the back of the bleachers during a football game neither of us cared about, and Mark shook his hand and said something genuinely funny. And Kai smiled like he hadn't expected to. That was October. By November, the 3 of us had a rhythm. Study sessions at my kitchen table, the kind where nothing much gets studied, but the conversation goes somewhere good. Mark and Kai figured out they both liked the same obscure band, some indie folk group out of Portland, and they spent 20 minutes debating the best album while I pretended to read. There was a moment. I noticed it and then forgot it, the way you forget things that seem too small to matter, where Kai looked at Mark with something careful in his expression. Not obvious, not dramatic, just a look that lasted half a second longer than it needed to. I thought nothing of it. I should have thought something of it, but I didn't. December. Mark got his acceptance letter from Whitmore University. Early decision, full ride, pre-law honors program. His mother cried. His father posted it on Facebook with 17 exclamation points. We celebrated at the diner on Clement Street, the 3 of us, and Mark ordered the most expensive thing on the menu and then insisted on paying for everyone. And he was glowing in this unguarded way I rarely got to see. That night felt clean. Good clean. Like the kind of evening you remember when you're older and trying to explain to someone who you used to be. 2 weeks later, Kai told me something in the car outside his apartment building, the engine running, the heat on. He told me he liked Mark. He said it simply, the way you say something you've been holding for a while and finally decided the wait isn't worth it. He wasn't asking for advice. He just needed someone to know. I said I thought that was brave and maybe a little risky and that Mark cared about him, though I couldn't promise what that meant. Kai nodded and said he wasn't going to make it weird. He just wanted to say something once so it wasn't a secret anymore. He told Mark the next day. After school, in the parking lot, just the 2 of them. I know this because Kai texted me afterward. He said Mark had been kind, genuinely kind. That Mark said he was flattered and that nothing needed to change, and they hugged, and Kai felt stupid for being relieved, but he was. He said Mark told him he was glad Kai had said something. That was a Thursday. On Friday night, I was doing homework when my phone lit up. A notification from a group chat I'd been added to without asking. 40-something people from our grade, a chat called something I won't repeat. And there was a message from Mark, a long one. I read it twice because the first time through I genuinely could not process that it was him. He had written, and I need you to understand, this was not venting, not a moment of weakness dressed up as humor, this was deliberate and detailed, about Kai by name. He described what Kai told him in the parking lot. He mocked it. He used words I will not repeat here, the specific slurs that people use when they want to remind someone that they are less than. He used them casually, like seasoning, like it cost him nothing. He called Kai delusional for thinking Mark would ever. He said some things about Kai's character so precisely designed to humiliate that they could only have come from someone who knew Kai well enough to know where to aim. And then he ended it with a laughing emoji. A single laughing emoji, like punctuation. The chat had 17 replies by the time I finished reading. Mostly laughing reactions, a few people piling on, nobody saying stop. I sat at my desk for a long time. Long enough that the screen went dark and I had to tap it awake to keep reading. And then I stopped reading because the replies were making me feel something physical. Something in my chest that I don't have a clean word for. I typed a message into the chat and deleted it. I typed it again, deleted it again. I put the phone face down on my desk and went to the kitchen and drank a glass of water standing at the sink in the dark. And then I went back to my room and I took a screenshot. I want to be honest about why. It wasn't purely noble. I was angry, yes. Furious in the specific way you get furious when someone you trusted reveals a room in themselves that you never knew was there. And you have to rearrange everything you thought you knew about the floor plan. But I was also scared. Scared of what it meant to act. Scared of losing the version of Mark I had kept in my head since 5th grade. Scared that using the screenshot would end something that couldn't be unended. I kept the image in my camera roll, and I didn't do anything with it for 3 days. On Saturday morning, Kai texted me asking if I'd seen the group chat. I said yes. He said okay and nothing else for 6 hours, and then he sent a voice memo. 32 seconds, I know because I listened to it 4 times. Where he just said he was okay, and that he'd figured people out before, and this wasn't new, and he was fine. He sounded so completely not fine that I put the phone down and stared at the ceiling. Monday. I found out at school that Kai had gone to the guidance counselor's office first thing in the morning. Not because someone forced him to, but because he'd apparently decided that if he sat with it alone any longer, he was going to collapse. And the counselor, who I had always thought of as someone who kept inspirational posters in her office and offered tissues and not much else, had done something unexpected. She had requested a copy of the group chat. She had screenshots already from someone else, another student who hadn't known what to do and had made the same calculation I was still making. Mark was called to the office at 11:15. I know this because I was passing the main hallway when they came to get him from Calc, and I watched his face in the moment before he understood what was happening. He had his easy smile on, the public-facing one, and then the guidance counselor said his name in a particular register. The smile didn't disappear. It just went somewhere behind his eyes. He walked with her without argument, and the door closed, and I stood in the hallway doing absolutely nothing useful. Here's the thing about Mark that made everything more complicated. He was a genuinely good student leader. He ran the peer mentorship program. Freshmen trusted him. The kind of kid who showed up to events nobody made him attend, who remembered the names of people's younger siblings. The school would not expel him. I knew this before the day was out, and I was right. The consequence was a suspension, a formal anti-harassment note in his file, and a required meeting with his parents. The group chat was shut down. Several students received disciplinary action for participating. But Whitmore University did not know any of this. The screenshot sat in my camera roll. I called my older cousin Danny that night, who is 24 and has precisely 0 patience for careful thinking when something is obviously wrong. I told her everything. She went quiet in the way she goes quiet when she's not going to tell me what to do, but wants me to say it out loud myself. I said, if I send this to Whitmore's admissions office, Mark loses the scholarship. He might lose the acceptance entirely. Pre-law, gone. His parents' pride, his future, the thing he has been building towards since he was probably 11 years old. And Danny said, I remember this exactly. She said that she heard me, and then she asked how long Kai was going to carry what Mark put in that group chat. Just that, how long? I found the Whitmore admissions email on their website. It took me approximately 90 seconds. I drafted the email 4 times, whittling it down to 6 final sentences. I attached the screenshot. I pressed send at 10:47 on a Tuesday night, and then I sat on my bedroom floor for a while because I didn't feel triumphant. I felt like I'd put something down that I'd never be able to pick back up. Whitmore responded in 8 days. They said they took matters of community conduct seriously and that all decisions were subject to review per their honor code. They did not tell me what they decided. I found out through Mark's mother's Facebook, which I was still following because I am apparently not as thorough as I thought. She posted in early January that Mark would be attending Riverside State in the fall, no scholarship mentioned. The Whitmore post, the one with 17 exclamation points, was gone. Kai never knew I sent that email. I decided not to tell him. That is a decision I revisit sometimes, usually at around 2 in the morning when I am trying to figure out what honesty actually owes people. I think I made the right call. I also think I made it partly to protect myself from whatever Kai might have felt about it. Relief or discomfort or something more complicated that I wasn't ready to navigate. So that part was not clean. Mark never reached out to me. Not once. I half expected a confrontation. Something dramatic. An accusation, proof that he'd figured out it was me. Nothing. Just silence, and then he stopped appearing in spaces we used to share, and after a while the absence started to feel like its own kind of architecture. Like a room where someone used to be still shaped by the furniture they left. Kai and I still study together sometimes. He's applying to colleges now. He wants to do environmental science, which I find extremely on brand. He still brings library books he pretends are casual reading. Last week he laughed so hard at something I said that he knocked his tea off the table. And we spent 10 minutes cleaning it up, and he apologized 5 times more than was necessary, and I told him so, and he said sorry about that too, and we both lost it completely. He seems okay. Better than okay, actually. He told me once, not about Mark specifically, but in the general territory of the subject, that some people teach you what to look for in others. He said it like it cost him nothing. I think it cost him more than he lets on, and I think he has decided that is his business. I got exactly what I wanted. Mark's cruelty had a consequence proportional to itself. Kai didn't have to watch someone walk into a future unbothered while the words they wrote were still somewhere in his body. The scales, if scales mean anything, tipped in the direction I aimed for. And I lost my oldest friend. That's the arithmetic, not a tragedy, just the plain math of choices. I lost the boy who shared his lunch with me in 5th grade, not because he was never real, but because he was real enough to be both things at once. The good and the awful, and I could not figure out how to hold both of them anymore without dropping something. I dropped him. He made it easier by being the one who showed me the room. Some nights I still reach for my phone to send him something funny, a meme, a song, some dumb observation, and my thumb stops before it gets there, and the impulse just sits there with nowhere to go. The diner on Clement Street has new booths. I went back once, alone, ordered the coffee, sat in the same spot. The table was the same. Everything else was subtly different in the way things get when you're looking for what's missing. I finished my college applications last week. For the personal essay, the prompt asked about a decision that shaped who I am. I wrote about something else entirely. Some things you make peace with by not performing them. You just carry them quietly, one hand holding the win and the other hand open and empty where something used to be. The Golden Boy's secret shame.